Hi guys, I'm just taking you out for a little drive in my Chevy Volt, and to some people the Volt is quite a mystery on how it operates, and I think there's a lot of misconceptions as to how exactly the car works. A lot of people call it a hybrid, and it's anything but a hybrid. It's an electric car. It's a full-on electric car with a gas-powered generator to generate power once you've run out of electric power, once you've run out of battery. And the battery is typically good for about 60 kilometers. Now, your range will vary depending on factors such as running the heaters in the winter, running your wipers, air conditioners. Air conditioner doesn't have that much of an effect on the range, but definitely things such as running your heater, defroster, windshield wipers, lights, etc. in the winter and the colder temperatures definitely will impact your range. Now, I've already been driving around today a fair bit, and I just want to demonstrate the proper way to drive a Volt to get the maximum range out of your battery. And to do that, you want to use your regenerative braking whenever possible. And how that's done on the Volt, other cars are different. Cadillac's got their ELR, which is essentially the Volt, with Cadillac badging and a few more bells and whistles and a much nicer interior at a much larger price. But it operates the same way. On Cadillac, they've got little paddles on your steering wheel which you can turn on your regenerative braking on demand. On the Volt, we don't have the luxury. When you first depress the brake pedal, you will go into regenerative braking first, and then as you continue to press the brake pedal, you'll start to use the hydraulic brakes. But the way to enter regen on demand on the Volt is to use the shifter lever. Shift it down into low range. As you can see from the console here, it's in power recovery mode. And I typically do that whenever I'm approaching a light or a stop sign. I've switched it back into drive now. When I know I'm going to be stopping, or if I'm going down a hill, I will switch it into low range. And what that does, slows the car down using the electric motor as a generator to recover power. And it's very efficient in doing so. You're not using your hydraulic brakes to stop, other than when you're rolling up to a light and you've got to come to a complete stop. So we're just going to take the car out for a little spin here. I don't have a lot of energy left in the battery. As you can see, I've got 3 bars. I have been driving it today, and I just put a little bit of a charge in as I wanted to make this video. I wanted to go into, good driving, guy. Nice signaling. Look at this idiot. Oh man, you're going to be on YouTube. You're going to be a star, buddy. 2 lane changes without a signal. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to run this thing into gas mode. I want to show you what happens at the transition point, and more importantly, show you how the gas engine operates. Because again, there's another misconception with the Volt, that the Volt, once it's running in gas mode, stays in gas mode and does not change, and that is incorrect. The gas engine cycles on and off as you're driving. It doesn't run constantly. And this is another big misconception with the Volt, is that once it's in gas mode, people think it operates like a regular gas car, and that's incorrect. The gas engine will run for a few minutes, and then it will stop, and you'll use the power that's built up in the battery. So according to my battery state of charge here, I've got about 11 kilometers, 10 kilometers of range before the battery runs out. As you can see, if you look on the instrument cluster here, we're in full battery power. I'm cruising at a good freeway speed. I don't know if you can see my speedometer or not, but we're over the posted speed a little bit. But we are on battery power, and that's how the Volt operates. It's a battery-powered car. It's always a battery-powered car until the battery is depleted. And it's got pretty good acceleration too. If I can time this light right so that I can be the first car off the line, I'll give you a little show on how quick it actually gets up to speed. So now I'm approaching a red light, so I shift the shifter down into low range and take my foot off the gas, and my speed will drop fairly quickly. Oh good, I can get in the right lane. I got an open lane here. Oh, I don't even need to stop. The light's already gone green, but I'll put my foot into it here. It really does have a remarkable amount of pickup. I was kind of hoping that we'd get to stop for that light and do a dry run right from the standstill, but that didn't work out this time. But we'll just take a little trip through the George Massey Tunnel here and into Richmond and flip around and go back the other highway. And by that point we'll be in gas mode, and then you'll be able to see how the engine operates, how it starts and stops. Even when you're driving at freeway speeds, it will cycle on and off. It won't stay running constantly. So again, I'm going to slow down here. So rather than put on my brake, I just drop it down into low range, and that engages the regenerative braking. Now I can keep it in low range, and in stop and go traffic, a lot of people do that. I'll keep this down in low range now because I need to slow down a bit. And this way I'm not putting my brakes on. And if somebody's close behind me, I'll tap my brakes just to flash the lights, because when you do this, the brake lights don't come on. It's just like in a standard transmission. If you gear down, you're not actually activating your brakes or your brake lights. So yeah, you can catch the guy behind you off guard and make him stay in his pants if you're not careful. So I always check the rear view mirror and make sure that someone's not following too close. If someone's right behind me, I'll put my foot on the brake just to activate the brake lights, just to warn them that I'm slowing down. But if there's a lot of space behind me, I think if anybody's even half alert, they'll notice that you're slowing down, especially if you're coming up on a red light. And again, I go back down into low range because the traffic in front of me is slowing down. This way I don't have to use my brakes. I can synchronize with the traffic, merge in. I have 4 kilometers of range left on the battery now. As you can see, the battery is almost done. Still in low range because I'm still at points get to slow down a bit. And normally I leave it in drive. Like I'll go back to drive now, because now when I just take my foot off the gas or off the accelerator, say it's not really a gas pedal in an electric car, take my foot off the accelerator, I now coast. Yes, I'm regenerating some power, but I'm actually not slowing down. But the car in front of me is slowing down, so I will drop my shifter down to low, and that will drop my speed, and it will drop it quite quickly. That way I'm extending the range of the battery. If I put the energy info into info mode, you would actually see the kilowatt hours used going down. If I was going down a big hill, it says I've used 11.7 kilowatts, 11.8 now. But if I was going down a big hill, that would actually go down. as the battery is picking up a charge. I've used less power. I'm putting power back into the battery, which is kind of neat. So I'm just going to exit here, and we'll turn around because I want to get into gas mode without going too far, and then show you how this thing operates once it's running on gas. So I see traffic ahead, so I switch down to low range, and that will drop my speed. I haven't touched the brake yet. Okay, I'm down at about 30 kilometers per hour, 20 kilometers. Now I can put the brake on and come up to a complete stop. But I am only using my brake to stop from 20 kilometers per hour to a complete stop. So by doing this, I can switch my shifter back to drive because I'll be pulling up when the light goes green here. By driving in this manner, I save wear and tear on my brakes. Now this car has 49,000 kilometers on it. Just over 49,000 kilometers. The brake linings were inspected, and there is not even any discernible wear on the brake pads. I just had the car in at the shop due to an unexpected flat tire that had to be repaired, and they checked out my brakes and everything, did an inspect on it, and told me that there wasn't even any sign of wear, that I had 98%, they figured, of my brake pads were remaining, which is pretty damn good. Try that in a regular car. Try that in any other car. 50,000 kilometers and I've got 98% of my brake lining remaining. So, when people talk about electric cars, there's the maintenance issue. They're much lower maintenance. Now, I realize that I'm going to have the people out there that are in love with their Teslas, and I got nothing against Tesla. I actually almost bought a Tesla before buying my Volt 3 years ago. The thing that I guess sealed the deal, buying the Chevy, and I'm not a lifelong Chevy owner. In fact, I'll be the first to admit that this Chevy is the first Chevy I've ever owned. I had never considered owning one prior to the Volt. I had owned various other brands of cars. My wife did have a Buick at one time, and we never had any problems with that car until she caused a problem by running it out of water, but that's operator error. But I've owned several brands of cars over the years, and this was the first Chevy that I've ever owned. I did consider a Tesla when I was shopping for cars. The deciding factor was the backup engine, the extended range engine. That is what sealed the deal. Tesla can claim all they want. We can go 300 kilometers, 500 kilometers on the big battery. Okay, then what? What happens then? You'll have the Tesla supporters out there, especially in places like California, that say, well, yeah, you just pull it to a supercharger and you can get 100 miles of range in 30 minutes. Okay, great. If you just want to travel the corridors, then you might be able to get by with that. But I don't want to be stuck to driving the major thoroughfares. I want to be able to take my car and go wherever I want to go, whenever I want to go. And I don't want to have to plan my trip on where I can charge my car. And that is the big problem I have with a full electric car. Is I don't want to have to I don't have to change my plans. I don't want to have to be told when I have to stop to get charged. I want to go where I want to go, when I want to go there, and I don't want to have to change my plans for anything. If I want to drive my car to Alaska, I want to be able to get in my car and drive to Alaska and go any route that I want. If I want to drive my car, anywhere, I want to drive across the country, but I want to maybe take the scenic route. Okay, we just switched over to gas. I don't know if you heard anything. I certainly didn't hear anything, but I just noticed that my icon just came up here, that I'm running in fuel mode now, and my battery on the instrument panel, my speedometer instrument panel, has now been replaced by the gas tank, which tells me I've got enough fuel to go 185 kilometers. Incidentally, it's been like 3,500 kilometers since I filled the tank. I filled the tank back in January. It's now May. I've used like 24 liters of fuel since the beginning of January. And that's actually pretty high, because in the winter months you tend to use a little more gas because of the temperature. But a tank of gas lasts me 6 months. And as you can see, I've done 50,000 kilometers in less than 3 years. So I do drive the car a fair bit. I don't use much gas, but it's nice to have it there for when it's needed. So we're in gas mode now. The engine is just humming. You can barely hear it. It's running at an idle, because at this speed, the only thing the engine is doing is it's producing electricity. Now, I do realize that at certain speeds, the Volt can and does drive, it does not 100% drive the wheels from the engine. It can't, but it can, through the planetary gear set and the arrangement of the 3 clutches, it can engage the gas engine to provide some power into the planetary gear set. That occurs at specific speeds only, and you know when it happens, and it's typically between 70 and 80 miles per hour, 120 and 140 kilometers per hour, somewhere in there, is when it engages. You know, because you can actually feel there's a slight lurch when it goes into that mode, and it only does it at certain speeds. Speeds like I'm going now, I'm doing about 100 kilometers per hour. The engine's running, and it's producing power to drive the wheels. Now, we'll see the engine shut off here, and it will go back to battery as I continue to drive. Even though I'm driving down the freeway at freeway speeds, the engine will shut off. There it goes. The engine just shut off. Now we're back on battery. I'm driving it at 95 kilometers per hour, and we're back in battery mode. And this will continue. I don't know if I can zoom this camera in at all. We'll try. I can't really see what it's doing, but I'm just kind of pressing the button. We're in battery mode now again. We're in gas mode, but we're in battery mode. And this is how the Volt operates. Okay, the gas engine just started again. I don't know if you can see that on here, on the screen, but the engine is now started again. And this will continue. This is how it operates when you're driving down the freeway, unless you're driving at excessively fast speeds. Typically, I think it's 110 kilometers and over, or 100 kilometers, I think it's 110 and over, the gas engine will constantly run, because the amount of the wind resistance requires more power. Right now, with the engine running, we're producing more electricity than the electric motor is using. So the balance is going into the battery, and when a little bit of a charge gets built up in the battery, the engine will shut off again, and you'll use that power stored in the battery. And let's see if I can zoom this in a bit more so you can see the dash there. And it'll shut off again in a few minutes here as we continue to drive. We'll see the engine shut off. Now, I'm driving at 100 kilometers per hour right now, which is 20 kilometers over the posted speed limit. Yet everybody else is passing me like I'm standing still. We're still on gas power. But the engine should be shutting itself off here momentarily. I'm going up a bit of a hill there. Okay, the engine just went off. Now we're back on battery power, as you can see off the display. I'm still driving the same speed. I'm still driving at 100 kilometers per hour. And now we're back in pure battery mode. It still lists me as being in gas mode on the dash because that doesn't switch back until you actually plug it in and charge it. Got a bit of a hill going up here. That'll use a bit of power. The engine will probably kick back in again momentarily here because I'm going up an overpass. There we go. The engine just kicked back in again. And it'll most likely shut off again here in a few seconds. It'll shut off again. Someone once asked me, how's the acceleration when it's on gas mode versus when it's on battery mode? Well, to answer your questions, the acceleration is exactly the same because we're using power stored in the battery as well. So you actually don't suffer any performance loss, even though it's only a little, 80 horsepower 4-cylinder engine under the hood. That engine is tuned to run at full power. It's, even though the car's maybe only needing 20 horsepower to keep it cruising at this speed, that engine is putting out full power, and the balance of that power is generating power for the electric motors, or for the battery, sorry. See, the engine is shut off again. Now I'm going to drop it into regen mode because I know that I've got a red light coming up here. So as we pull up to the light, the engine's off, and we're now storing the kinetic energy to move the car. And I'm slowing down, and I will apply my brakes right about now at the 25 kilometer an hour speed. So I slowed down from 100 down to 25 before applying my brakes at all. Engine is still off. The engine will stay off, and it probably won't start until I get up to over about 60 kilometers per hour on accelerating, unless I put my foot into it. If I were to floor it right now when the light turns green, the engine would start immediately because the battery is in its low state of charge. Okay, light's gone green. We start up here, and I'm accelerating at a good rate. I'm not flooring it or anything, but here we are. We're at 60 kilometers an hour, 62 kilometers an hour. The engine fired up, and it will run for, again, maybe a minute. Got another light coming up here, so I got my foot off the gas. I haven't switched down into low range yet because I don't need to regen just yet. But I will drop into regen mode here before I get to the light, and that'll slow me right down. So now I'll put it into low range now as I approach the light. Oh, the light's gone green. I don't need to do it. I can go back into drive and keep going. My engine is shut off again, and now I'm in a 50 kilometer zone. So good chance that the engine won't start again. I'll make it home. I'm only a couple of kilometers now from my house, so at this rate I'll probably make it the rest of the way home without the engine having to start again. And one more time I'll drop it into the L, or the regen mode, as I approach my light here. That'll slow me right down to a crawl, and then just use the brakes to actually stop the car. This time I didn't even have to use the brakes. I'm able to roll right out into the intersection and wait for it to clear. But that's how you drive a Chevy Volt for maximum electric and fuel efficiency. There's no other car currently on the market that operates like the Volt, with the exception of the ELR Cadillac, which is essentially the same car. There's nothing else that operates with the efficiency of the Volt. You've got total freedom. You don't have to have a second car. It can be your one and only car and take you anywhere. And it's an electric car when you want it, for driving around town, going to work and back. It's a full-on electric car. You plug it in, you charge it up, you're good for around 40 miles, 60 kilometers. I think the best that I've gotten is about 73 kilometers. I usually average out at around usually in the high 50s, low 60s, depending on the temperature. If I look at the energy guide on here now, I get 65 kilometers on the battery today. So it's and that's average. That's what we get on an average. 60, 65 in that range. I was talking to a fella, and he's got a Tesla, and we were talking about cars and comparing different cars. And I said to him, "So, what do you do when you want to go out of town?" He goes, "Well, I don't take the Tesla, I take my Audi." How's his answer? He says, "No, I don't care about superchargers, in the States." He says, I'm not gonna plan my trip or my life around when I have to charge my car. If I'm going to be driving more than the range of the car, which is the one he has is rated at 200 miles, 300 kilometers. And he told me up front, he says, if I've got to go more than 100 miles on that thing, he says, I'm not taking it. Even though I know that they say it'll go 200 miles, if I've got to go more than about 100, between 100 and 130 miles, full round trip, he says, I'm not taking the Tesla. I'm taking the Audi. So here's a Tesla driver that won't even take his Tesla if he knows that he may get stuck in a detour or something may happen and he hasn't got a place that he can charge up. And, that's the reason that I bought the car that I bought, was because I didn't want the range anxiety. I have all the benefits of driving a full electric car. It's cheap to run, it's quiet, yet I have the gas engine as a fallback. One last thing, when people ask me, how much did my bill go up on my hydro, my electric bill? My electric bill has gone up about $30 a month from the electric car. So how much has my gas bill gone down? My gas bill in my old car was about $100 a week to fuel my old gas guzzler. And it's about $7 a week to gas up. Yeah, nice driving on the wrong side of the road, buddy. That was one of those right-hand drive goofs. My gas bill, on my old car, was typically close to $100. It was between $85 and $100 a week, depending on where I drove. But it was every week. I'll say $300 a month to operate, at least minimum $300. Probably more like $350 a month to operate my old car. And this one here is about $30 a month to operate. Plus a tank of gas, and on this thing here, a tank of gas is only 35 liters, so $40 to fill the tank, and I do that twice a year. So it's about $30 a month to operate. That would be about $360 a year in electricity, plus 2 tanks at $40 a pop. It's about $420 a year to operate the Volt, versus $3,000 minimum to operate my old car. Yeah, it's way cheaper. Hope you enjoyed.